Hi there, and welcome to today's edition of the Disrupt interviews. Today we're going to be talking to Nicola Ngarewa, who is not only the chair of the Teaching Council of Aotearoa, New Zealand, she is also a light and principal at Spotswood College. Hi Nicola, how are you?
Hola Claire, I'm good, how are you?
Awesome, thank you. Hey, do you want to tell people a little bit about the context that you're currently in and the school that you're leading?
Yeah, kia ora. I'll just say firstly that I'll be very fortunate that I've taught from early childhood through to tertiary, and I have been a principal in area schools, currently the principal at Spotswood College, but I found my real passion for education in the New Zealand prison system, teaching there. And I think my biggest claims to fame are that I'm actually a mother of two beautiful teenage daughters that are here in the house with me right now. Lots of fun. And also a wife to Wayne Crib.
Awesome. And so how long have you been at Spotswood?
So I've been at Spotswood for about 1.5 years. Yeah, I was at Party Area School prior to that for about 3-4 years, and I was the principal at Tamatea High School over in Napier, Hawke's Bay prior to returning home to Partia.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about what's going on at Spotswood and how you've approached getting prepared for going remote so far this year?
Yeah, sure. So I guess probably the biggest thing to point out is that just in 2018 we were a complete traditional school with siloed subjects, very little online usage or platforms or devices that we were using on a regular basis. And we've joined the Disrupt PLG with you, Claire, and Maury and other great support there. And within that sort of really tight time frame have completely transformed who we are as a school, so that we are future focused, we're integrated online, about 95% paperless, and do things quite differently and really fitting for the community that we serve.
Amazing. And what were your first steps? Obviously, we had we didn't have much time to know that we were going remote. Many of us sort of had a hunch that we were heading in that direction. And some schools I know started preparing earlier than others. What was your sort of first steps and when did you start preparing? And what has the first edition of total remote learning looked like for Spotswood College?
Yeah, cool. I guess part of our whole journey has been preparing for what things might look like if this happened. And then, of course, we got to the kind of crux point around about February. We started thinking, my gosh, this is getting more and more intense and serious. We really need to have a robust pandemic distance online learning plan in place. So we were playing around with a number of different things and a few new features, making sure that we had deep, visible, inclusive learning through our platforms. And I think by and large, in terms of teaching and learning, we've been able to sort of have a seamless rollout. But we do have some major issues that we're still having to find, some innovative and creative responses to. One of those is that, there's a large sector of our community that still aren't, even though we've offered devices and free Wi-Fi, that we still didn't manage to reach out to and get to before our schools had to fully close up. So we're trying to find solutions around that, but we've still got large, we've got about 150 of a school of 850 that we still aren't connected with. And so those are probably more than likely our young people that we most need to be connected with. And we're trying a whole range of different solutions. We're not quite there yet. So that's one part of it. The other part is, even though teaching and learning is important, it's actually more about connectivity and about wellbeing. That's absolutely our sole focus. So last day of school, we had staff going out delivering kai packs around the community. We were making sure that we had sort of some kind of connectivity, even if it was through a neighbour that was connected to a kid that we knew would have need an extra bit of support and guidance and kindness during this really unprecedented time. So there's kind of those two things, even though the online learning aspects seamless, that we haven't yet nailed.
Yeah. So in terms of your overarching strategy, you've really had to think of a blended approach, flipping the traditional definition of blended on its head in a way. So you're primarily designing for remote learning, I guess, using Google Classroom and those sorts of things and Google Meetup, but you also have to be cognizant of the fact that you do have a section of your community, which will be the case for a lot of schools around the country, who aren't going to be connecting via digital devices. So how have you designed for those two different modes at this stage?
Yeah, so I think through our student support network, our sole focus is about wellbeing. It's with the kids, how are you doing? Is there anything? And then we've got a whole team that sits behind it in connections with other agencies. And if there's things that are alerted to us, we're able to respond and get some AFI in as quickly as we can. And there's some really, really tough times for families across our country that are out there. And I think that's why kindness, that manaaki has to be absolutely wellbeing at the forefront for staff, students, and our community alike. And then there's those of our community that are, they're worried and they want to get on with some aspects of learning. And so we've also got provisions in place for them. We've set up a website which is about, I guess, extension work or gifted and talented, and being able to connect and make sure that there's live streams and a whole range of things that will support wherever you are at that space. But I think, one thing, teachers in our profession from early childhood to tertiary across the country are doing amazing, creative, innovative solutions around all of their contexts. And I I'm so proud of what I see. And that includes the team that I get to work alongside, because I've seen ways that we know that we have to get out still and do better to connect with our kids that we didn't quite get Wi-Fi and devices to. And I applaud people that have got that at the forefront of their mind as well. And I think it's really important as we're in this new norm right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So wellbeing, and people being at the centre of everything that you're doing. So in those first few days before we hit what's now termed as school holidays, you were really just focusing on establishing those connections, checking in on their wellbeing, and reaching out to people as best you could.
So fun. I just want to add that in. So we purposely did a whole range of things through our Facebook page and stuff like that, where we asked kids and staff to send us things that they were doing, having a little bit of fun with online learning. And so we got kids that were dressed up in all these sort of Darth Vader outfits, and I had a little wig made of toilet paper, because amongst it you have to be able to find, humour can go a long way, and find a little bit of delight in everything that we're doing, no matter what circumstance we're in. And I do think, laughter keeps the illness away.
Yeah, I also remember seeing on your Spotswood Facebook page some fantastic pictures that I think you shared in about the first or second day of going remote of your students learning at home, and it was them working on the farm and helping out the family and doing all of that stuff.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of cheek and tongue, and it was really important that amongst these amongst the unprecedented times, that we can have a little bit of a laugh, and we don't have to be so serious. And part of wellbeing is taking the chance, both the staff and students and community, to say, we've got this is okay. It's a new norm, and there's some significant challenges, and it is uncomfortable, but we're going to be okay. And there's some much more worse scenarios that we could have been in.
And I think as well, it's time to take stock around the concept of us not having to be finished with our learning by any given time either. That there is no urgency in terms of we have to get this done by the end of the school year, or have to get this done by the end of the term, and we have to do all of these assessments, next week, next month, or whatever. It's really important to acknowledge that, both you and I are really interested in those relationships between school and business and industry, and partnerships with the real world. And I know you do some great stuff with Johnson's Corner in your area of New Zealand, and that there's a really neat opportunity to stress the fact that we're actually lifelong learners, and that if learning in the traditional sense feels like it's slowed down or changed or pivoted or gone in a different direction, that's okay as well. It's we don't have a expiry date on learning.
And teaching too, and I want to just do a real mihi to so many courageous teachers and leaders and principals out there that I see doing phenomenal things. I mean, I see bedrooms have become the classroom. It's probably the only quiet place that they can find in their house, which is like me on any given day as well. And you see them doing all these sort of online activities and cooking classes and gosh, I have such respect for our profession and the way that they've responded. And I think they're absolutely coming from a core base of caring. I think our profession is phenomenal because when it comes down to it, we do what we do. We teach because we care. So a big mihi to those out there that are doing those magical things that I love. I wish I was in their classes, actually.
And so what's your message going to be moving forward? Because I think it's quite interesting. We've had this period of time where obviously there was just a handful of days before we went on to school holidays. We're now looking ahead to a period of time of who knows how many weeks of remote learning. Like, we know we've definitely got a couple of weeks of remote learning that we're going to have to be engaged with. We also get the sense from news updates that it might be a further, more extended period of remote learning. What's the message that you've been giving your senior leaders and your teachers in terms of how they prepare for this next phase? Because whilst it's really important that it's about relationships and well-being, we're also aware that as time goes on, there's going to be a sense of maybe a desire for getting a sense of progress and moving forwards as well. So what are some of the things on top of your head in terms of next steps for your senior leader and your teachers and your learners at your school?
Sure. I think we've had to have a bit of trajectory around some of our learning as staff as well. And I don't want that to be ad hoc or it's here and now. It's about how do we make sure that this becomes our new norm, as you keep challenging us with, and so that we can keep propelling forward. So that's definitely, this isn't just about a here and now. This is about actually giving us a platform that we can continue to move forward with our future focus in mind, with our kids and our community in mind. I think there's some really beautiful lessons around humanity, around kindness, and around being caring. And I hope that we never lose that we still at some point have staff that say, you know what, we've got a community out there that need kind. We're going to take time out to do different things, and that's reciprocated. That kindness that teachers are leading in this profession, leading at this time, is also reciprocated from the community when it comes back to giving a little bit of grace and respect to what people do there. The other thing I just want to mention is that, we have an opportunity now to make sure that there's equity and accessibility for our most disadvantaged communities and for rural New Zealand. And I'd like to think that that becomes a real focus for our country as we move forward too. And it's not to say it's the only space, it is an and, but I definitely hope that that becomes a real significant future focus forefront issue.
Yeah. Totally. And in terms of, can you tell me a little bit now as well? Like, I've obviously been working closely with you and know quite a bit about the work that you've been doing at Spotswood and the shift that you've done to focus more on STEAM and more integrated approaches to teaching and learning. And I know one of the things that you've been doing is a bit more, is there team teaching going on when you're face-to-face at school?
Did you say team?
Team, yeah.
Absolutely. Everything that we aim to do is collaborative and co-constructed.
And so what's that looking like in an online space?
Yeah, good question. I guess we're lucky that we've got the Google Classroom set up, and that's not new for us. So we're still able to just make sure that we're connecting with our classrooms, with our learning advisories, with our integrated STEAM courses, with our impact learning, in just the same way that we have previously. We've absolutely made sure that we've got a focus on deep, visible and inclusive learning, because those were the principles and the focus no matter what we were doing anyway. So it's just about making sure that it still continues to sit there in this new online distance learning space.
Awesome. And in terms of thinking ahead, is there anything that when you return to a face-to-face space, should we be able to go back into our schools in sort of 2, 3, 4 weeks' time, that you think you would do differently after a period of being offline in this way?
I don't know. This isn't a great big philosophical answer that you're probably looking for. It's probably deeply from me as a person. I remember saying to staff on, perhaps it was the Friday before we went into, 3 days into work, we went into complete lockdown, and I saw a kid scootering past the staff room, and I said to them, I hope that we get to see that tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And so those are the real beautiful things about having the best job in the world that I really miss, that relational connectivity.
Yeah.
I don't think that could ever be lost, no matter what platform or how we do this. It is about relationships. It is about connections. And I can't wait to see those young people doing those normal things again. They give me energy. They keep me young. I'm actually 75. Not 30. I will never take for granted how special that is, and how privileged I am to be able to work alongside amazing young youth in our country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're already, I mean, you're not someone who needed this context to suddenly think differently about how you want to deliver teaching and learning. I know for you, you have always looked at how you can change and evolve your teaching and learning practice to make it as relevant and engaging and relevant as possible. What's your thoughts about, I noticed on our DisruptED Facebook page, you gave a really supportive comment to one of our colleagues online who was talking about, this was a situation which was making her look at how it's prompted her to think about how she can think differently around how she's delivering teaching and learning. What's your message for our educators out there at the moment who are feeling, for many, this will be hugely discombobulating, this current situation, and hugely unsettling. And I can imagine that for some principals, the desire to go back to more structured ways of teaching and learning might feel really appealing. But at the same time, do you see this as an opportunity for us to really take stock of how we've been approaching teaching and learning and how we might do so in the future?
Probably two things there. The first thing is, this change came upon us without us wanting it, inviting it, asking for it. It's here, it's now. We've had to respond really quickly, really agile in the approaches that we've come up with. And there's not, that's not going to go away anytime soon. I think there is a new norm that's been created, and it is, and understandably, it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. But I think that there's people that are out there that are really courageous, whether they're doing innovation in their classroom context and leading that innovation as a school with systems or structures that we need. And the wonderful opportunity here, as this is doing, is we're being able to say, I'm doing this, can I help? I need help with this. And we've got this whole bigger conversation and collectiveness happening, which I think is a really exciting space.
Yeah, there's a beautiful sense of people sharing and problem solving together at the moment, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And you probably couldn't have constructed this whether you tried some sort of 5-year systemic shift within government. It's just happened by the pure nature that our profession, from early childhood through to tertiary, are good people. There's some magical things happen out there, and no one's thinking, this is mine, I'm going to look after me right now. I think we've got a collective way and a real willingness to share, to ask for help. I know that I'll put out there many times, gosh, I need, help with this, help with that. And I'm okay. I'm okay about being humbled enough to be able to say there's some things I can offer, but there's many, many things that I can learn from others as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge our Prime Minister too, because I think that she has done a great job of leading us through this and helping to create that sense for us as Aotearoa New Zealand, that sense of, be good.
She's definitely set the tone, hasn't she? And I think our everyone has responded in kind to the most part, in the way that she has sort of established our priorities and the principles that underpin what we're doing at the moment.
Absolutely, and without ego, it's without ego. It's just about looking after staff, looking after whānau, looking after kids, looking after ourselves. And I would have to say, it doesn't matter what context you're in, whether you're early childhood, DSL 1, DSL 10, we are all in this together. And I think that's I think that's a really, really exciting opportunity, and I'm glad to see that we are stepping up as a profession and definitely showing that, yes, we are in this together, and we can ask and we can talk about it, and it's okay to ask for help too.
And so what would you say has been your biggest learning over the last 2 or 3 weeks?
The first thing that went to mind is I'm living in a house with 4 teenagers and my husband right now, so sanity, finding that balance. But I think the biggest learning is, I think if I was ever in a situation like this again, I have to make sure for the community that I serve, and for myself as a Māori woman in the space that I like to advocate in, it's about making sure that I'm never caught short where I'm most disadvantaged again. And I mean, that's a terrible, I'm really uncomfortable with that word, but that for those that have got it much harder in their households than myself. And I think that I have to absolutely find responses as soon as I get back, so that I'm not going to be caught short for those that I absolutely need to be catering for during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there was a real sense of response from teachers when we were in that space when we weren't sure if we were going to be closing or not. And, and I, for one, was really proud that schools could stay open, because we know that for many of our learners, it's the safest place for them to be is school. So being able to address that, because we do know that we have a real level of privilege in terms of the home that we personally go back to and the resources that we have, and that those things are not universal. And it's not just about the digital divide, it's about, what we've got access to across the board. And
and I would say that there's some amazing modelling of things that are happening now. Like I said, there's staff that are going out that had packs together or contributed different things, or checking in on their elderly neighbours, a whole range of different things like that. I hope we don't lose that.
Yeah.
I hope that sense of community and giving and awhi manaki remains with us, and we don't suddenly, we get back to out of I call it my staycation rather than lockdown. We get back to where we've just come from, and we forget about the neighbour next door, and we forget about domestic violence, or we forget about that we actually are the safest place, or maybe the most significant thing that some of our young people will know around the view of unconditional love, around the experience of unconditional love. We are a profession. We're so privileged, and we can really make or break around how we respond to different things for our young people.
And has anything surprised you over the last couple of weeks?
Pleasant surprises. It's like I said, I sort of open up something and I see someone else has turned their bedroom into, their classroom space, or you see these lovely people, teachers making up dances, and my gosh, I have to say, thank goodness we're teachers and not professional dancers, some of us. And we're just doing things that are not comfortable for us. They're uncomfortable, but we're embracing it, and I think I think we're nailing it. I'm so proud of this, man. There's so much to learn. I'm so pretty cool.
And a gorgeous sort of proliferation of creativity and humour, both in the education spaces and beyond as well, which I think, it's nice to see that side of people. And I think for the most part, particularly in the country that we live in, we've seen by far and large the good side of things, and some really positive sides of people as well. Okay, I'm mindful of time, so we're gonna finish our official part of the interview there. But of course, people can find you on Twitter, and they can obviously connect with you via our DisruptED page on Facebook. Any final words you'd like to say, Nicola?
Just a mahi to you, Claire. You have initiated this, which is really about being able to, open ourselves up and say to our DisruptED community, look, we're in this together. Here we are, and you've got lots of things, out there that you can contribute in. So, mahi to you for initiating this, and just to everybody out there, you are courageous, you are amazing. I have huge respect for you, and stay well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Nicola. And one final invitation to everyone watching today. We're really keen to gather diverse voices. You can see below this video ways that you can get in touch with us. Another thing that I was thinking of putting out to the community is a bit of a challenge for other people to record interviews and share back with us to publish through the DisruptED interview Facebook group and through the YouTube channel, because I truly believe this is an opportunity for everyone to take the lead and everyone to share their journey, because there is a huge amount for us to learn from each other and with each other. So thank you again, Nicola. It's been fantastic talking to you today. I'm going to stop recording the meeting now, And if you hang on the line, Nicola, I will see you again in a moment.